Hi guys, in this video we're going to have a look at Gen CSS for WordPress, how to initially set it up at least with Bricks Builder, and we'll get your project rolling. So Gen CSS produces a CSS framework very much like ACSS, and built originally as a desktop app, which you can also purchase for any type of static or Astro kind of site that you might want to build. It is now available in WordPress. So we're going to go through the setup on this Bricks website. And just mentioning Bricks as a specific builder, it's important to note that Gen CSS for WordPress has been tested exclusively with breakdowns, and so it should work very well with Oxygen also, and also Bricks. So these are the it's also been tested with Etch as well, but while it works really well with the with breakdowns, and I would assume Oxygen and also Bricks, Etch is a complete lock off. It's very much focused on its own system and ACSS, which is understandable. So if you are using Etch predominantly, Gen CSS might not be for you. It's important to note that WordPress is a very varied world with lots of different builders, plugins, server configurations, everything else. And so it's important to take advantage of the 14-day money-back guarantee, so you can purchase, test on your usual setup, and ensure that you're getting the results that you want. But that being said, Gen CSS produces a very clean CSS output, and it should be providing everything you need for variables, design tokens, utility classes. But in your specific builder, there might be a few little bits that struggle with specificity. Get in touch, report that. Would love to tend to that and help that as much as possible. It has been very refined for breakdowns, Oxygen, and Bricks at this point. So yeah, okay, let's crack on. So here we are at the WordPress dashboard, and we have fresh Gen CSS installation in place with Bricks, and we're going to crack on with the actual setup of all of this. So Gen CSS, and pop along to settings, and what you'll see is down at the bottom we have builder integrations. So Bricks requires a bit of finesse just to ensure that it's integrated properly. Out of the gate you can install Gen CSS and Bricks, and within the custom CSS you will be able to type in all of your variables and design tokens, and everything will take effect as you would hope it would. But this is to assist with the user interface actually showing Gen CSS options if you would like to do that. So we'll have a look at that. So simply download the JSON file, and then pop along to a page or a post, and we're going to open up a page and edit with Bricks. Once we've done that, let's pop along to theme styles, and I've already set up a Gen CSS theme style as a basis here, but we need to pop along to variables and then go to this import here. Now, funnily enough, I always think that should be export and that should be import, so hover over it and make sure you're selecting the right one. Select import variables, and we need to drop our variables in there, our JSON file in there. So I'm popping along to downloads right now, and I have the Gen CSS Bricks variables JSON. Okay, so just slap that in there, and it says, would you like to import the variable categories as well? And yes, we would, very much so. Okay, so that's all sorted out, and if we close that up, we've got variables imported 248, and we've also got categories as well. So I would always do a precautionary save, although I believe that is saved, and then select off there. Now we don't have any elements on the screen yet to see how this takes effect. All right, so but let's have a quick look at anything. So let's put a section on the page. I'm going to click on section here, and let's just take a look at the UI here. So go to layout, and if we hover over variables on the margin, you'll see that we've got all of the Gen CSS categories coming through there. So we would want to select the margin, obviously, and that's bringing us our margin tokens. Gen CSS uses a very sort of established convention of naming here. So we have what it is and then the sizing factor, and it's pretty regular in how that's presented. So XS through to 2XL in this instance. And while we're here, we can just have a look and familiarize ourselves with all of the different tokens that we have to use. Okay, so spacing as well, but obviously padding and margin are actually tokenized to the raw spacing scale. So it just depends on how you would like to use them, but of course, you can use whichever one you wish. Now, if we pop along to different, obviously, we just want to know that this is working for different interfaces. If we go along to border, we have border. We have everything available to us here. So find the category that makes sense to us. And shall we style this up a little bit? So we have a section here and a container. So let's add a background color to the container. There we go. And color palette, we don't have the colors coming through, but what we can do is use the variables here and go to Gen CSS colors. And we would like to make this our primary dark one. Some variables just seem not to come through, but you have them for the most part. You can always type them in though. But yeah, further work would be done on that to try and refine that. But yeah, it's working very well. So let's show that. If we alter that to light one, you see we have that take effect there. Let's add another element in here. So let's add some typography. And perhaps actually we'll add a bit of text and another div down here, and a couple of text links. Oh, well, at least one text link, that's fine. Okay, let's quickly, we can leave that basic stuff there in place, but let's have a little play with some padding. So let's, oh, not there, layout, padding. Let's put padding M on there just so that we can see that more easily, and you see that comes through really nicely. Let's quickly just let's have a look at the custom CSS. Very important for most people. This is where I actually tend to live. I should be styling on the class actually, but we do have some classes available if you would like to use some classes, some utility classes. I'll show you the actual Gen CSS interface in just a moment. I just wanted to show you how this comes through in the builder. So align content, center, justify content. That's the one I was looking for. I always forget. So again, the naming convention within got to do it correctly. The naming convention within Gen CSS is to say the thing and then the variant. So we've got gap grid, gap container, gap content. So it's gap whatever you wish it would be. And you can see that all of that has come into effect there. The last thing we'll do, just as a bit of a demo in the interface, let's pop along to variables, and let's grab we don't have anything else set yet. So let's grab the accent color on there. And then play with the sizing a little bit. So font style, font size, there we go. And open up the correct category. I think we'll go with font sizes. These are our tokenized because we might want to use text display, for example, and that all comes through nicely. Just going to jump on that text link actually, and we need to create some we'll need to create link primary. I'll show you that in just a moment. So save that. As you can see, that import of the JSON file there has brought everything into the interface really well. Even without that, you would see all of the design tokens and variables coming through in the custom CSS. Now let's actually have a look at Gen CSS within WordPress. So you can pop along to it there, or as you might have noticed, oops, it's a very weird, oh, it's visit site. Yeah, there we go. I don't want to do that. This was a previous Learning Edge site, ironically. Open link in new tab. There we go. Cool. Or we could click up here for Gen CSS. So click on that one. Down here, you actually have a return to the dashboard icon. So I could have clicked that just then. Right, so this is Gen CSS in WordPress. Okay, so very much the experience that you get if you're using Gen CSS, the desktop app, which is where it was originally created. A quick look around here, so you can change the interface a bit if you want to, alter its presentation. You can put the sidebar, the operations bar on the right. Or the panel on the right, get it to how you like it to be. And on that subject, you can also change things like interface typography, or the coding panel isn't on right now, but this would alter text in the coding panel. And then we have the actual panel colors. So you can set this up how you'd like it to be. There we go. So if you want to do some weird sort of light mode, that's totally up to you. And you can go as disco as you would like to be. So if that's what kind of floats your boat, there we go. I'll just reset the colors. That's the easier way to go, but I will lighten this a little bit. No, perhaps I won't. Cool. I will increase the interface size though for you guys. Okay, right. So that's looking pretty cool. Now, once you've got that as you'd like it to be, you can also open up the coding panel. So we actually have direct access to the entire framework CSS global sheet that we produce with Gen CSS. You will see that it's very, very comprehensive, and it goes in a layer system. So we have the variables, and then we have the design tokens, and then we have layout and base, and then we have a range of utilities. If you take notice here, though, we have Feud layout end and Feud layout start. Feud is actually Front-End Web Development Studio. That's the desktop app that goes alongside the Gen CSS desktop app, and it's a visual display environment for desktop coding. So this is Feud Studio, and if I just open up a blank one there, you see that, or actually let's open up a real project. This is actually the Gen CSS website, and I would have to open the terminal and npm run dev. I shouldn't have done that, but now we're in it, and I wanted this to be a one-take video. So this will fire up and hopefully not melt my OBS connection here. Oh, I've got to connect the project. There we go. So this is actually my Gen CSS website, and this is all editable within this desktop app called Feud Studio. Regardless, I'm going to close that one down. That is why it says Feud layout start. Gen CSS started off as a feature within Front-End Web Development Studio. Okay, so just to clarify that little point there. The main thing to note here is that we have the Feud, whatever it is, start and end, and then we have user font start in this instance and user fonts end. In between these areas, Gen CSS within the user interface will actually add in anything that you add. So we have a ton of custom areas that you can add into. So for example, we can create some new color tokens here. So my new color, and it might be using the no hashtag there. There we go. Okay, so if we now search for that, let's push that. If we now search for new color, you see that it has been added for us in between the user color primitive start and user color primitive end. I think it's important that you have exposure to the entire code, and it's bidirectional, but if that makes you nervous, you can always turn it off. Okay, but yes, you have exposure to the whole code. This started off as a desktop coding app where that's of utmost importance, but I didn't want to remove that in the WordPress instance because I think it's important that you have that sort of awareness of where everything is, and you can also cut, copy and paste as you need. It really empowers you. The one rule is, though, do not change this commentary. It's how GenCSS maps everything and all of the updates to the actual CSS sheet. Okay, but essentially the rule is use the user interface and push to file, and that will update that and save that to your project. I'm going to turn the coding panel off now. And let's take a look more at the interface. So we have the global palette here, and we can create all of our color palettes. And actually, if you are looking at the code, you should see that it's constantly updating as you do all of that. So if we look at the secondary color palette here, it's creating the shades for us as we move everything around. There we go. So you can see all of those moving, and it's creating the related transparencies there as well. So very, very easy to go and update and then push that to file to ensure that that has saved to the actual file in your project. Okay, cool. Then you have a range of color assignments, and obviously something that this has that a lot of other frameworks don't have, especially in WordPress, is this beautiful preview, so you can really get an idea for how everything's turning out as you move around the preview here. So make some decisions and see them take effect right in front of you. We've got some color scheme, light and dark. We've got typography. This will create up all of your scales as you wish to have them. So golden ratio is obviously very, very dramatic in its changes, and you can make global heading changes or make more granular alterations here. I should have said before that that's also the case with your color palette here. So you can even get granular into your shades should you wish to do so. But out of the box settings with GenCSS are generally right on the mark. So you just need to add in your global palette, choose your typography and your fonts, and away you go. Layout and everything obviously is in place. I should say that this is tied to a certain class, a certain attribute, but you can obviously add your own and ensure that it's as you want it to be. But this is linked to content container as an attribute, and so I would suggest you add that to your divs within a section, and that would alter it, your site width, like so. Okay, 113.66. Cool. Okay, I'll leave that all as it is. Obviously, if you add things into the custom areas and you forget a curly bracket, that's going to wipe out your styling. You're operating on the actual sheet. This is, this is direct coding. So do be careful to do that. Right, so yeah, generally this is GenCSS. You can see that there are a ton of options. They're all previewed for you. You can make alterations as you wish. So I can change that to 12 pixels, and you see that alteration there. There we go. And you have all of that previewed for you. Just moving down, obviously buttons and links. This is one that we said that we would do because we added a link called primary link. Now this is separated from buttons and links, and and on each one we have the global and then the variants. Really, the variants are where you want to operate. So I've got a link and a variant here. I'm going to create that called primary and add that. Now I can actually get to work and change this up, and obviously I can use my variables for this. So I can attach a white variable there. We can add in the primary color because obviously it's our primary link, and then let's add in some padding, and let's do that with padding M. Oh, okay, quite dramatic there. Let's take that to padding M. There we go, and let's add on a radius as well, and we actually have a button radius token, so I'm going to go button, and you see that it's suggesting for me here. Okay, so we've got a button radius there. Last thing, let's just change the hover text. Okay, cool. Something that does need updating at this point, and it will get an update very soon, is we just want to get rid of the decoration there. I'm going to go to globals to do that, and hover decoration, none. Okay, coolio. Right, I'm going to leave that and push that to file. It says push to file down at the bottom there, and let's return to bricks, our bricks page. Wherever that is, there we go. You can see that some of this has actually come into effect already. So this is now so big because we changed the ratio. So let's pop back to Gen CSS. We could obviously, we can change the actual heading size there, or give a different token to it. But just to show you how this works, changing the ratio, push to file, back to our home page, and you see that has taken effect there. So has the button effect, because we have that link primary. And just to make that clear to you, when you create variants and of buttons and links, you have the actual class name displayed here. So this is link primary. And while we're here, let's quickly add hover cover to it, hover color. Just so that we can preview that, push to file, pop along back to bricks, and there we go. All right. Now a quick thing about Gen CSS is that it frustrated me popping to AI or to other little browser CSS tools, and we actually have a CSS Studio, which is in early days. There are a few things to improve with it or to give it more options, but currently we have gradient box, so we can create a gradient. We have layered, so you can actually layer different items within a div, including images, and then we add before and after elements, so your overlay, for example. And then a really exciting one, typography, is that you can create a big sort of gradient effect on some typography. So you can do gradient text here. At the moment, the color picker isn't popping up, unfortunately, which is something that's on the bug list. But you can add in your hex codes there, and it's going to create this gradient for you. Now, when using this, you might actually create a new selector. So if we go my gradient background, so my grad BG, and I'll leave it at that for the moment, but you simply need to copy the CSS. You can just snip this out and go into your builder and add it in manually, or you can actually take this whole selector now that we've created, pop along to utilities and add it to our custom utilities. So my grad BG, I'm going to push that to the file and then pop back to the builder. Now we haven't added it to anything, so I'm going to go to section and simply add in that class, and you see that we've now pulled that style in, and it's one that we can reuse. So a ton of options in Gen CSS. This is like pretty much version 1 of it. Actually, it's version 0.51 or and so yeah, really great experience. hope you enjoy it. That's how to set it up. The experience is the same in breakdowns, very much so, but you don't need to do that JSON setup. Cool. Okay. Any further questions, please pop along to gencss.co.uk. There's an email for feedback, but obviously happy reviews, check them on the video, and ask any questions in the comments. Love the engagement. But yeah, any sort of requests or highlights of bugs or things that just aren't landing properly, please send them in, and make sure I've got them. The email addresses on the website. And don't forget that GenCSS originally was created as a desktop coding app. So if you want the desktop version of that, please pop along to gencss.co.uk. Great. I'll leave you with that, and have a good day. Bye.